And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much that you wanted to come back for more. Well, guess what? We have a lot more for you. This is the place that is about podcasters. It's by podcasters and it's for podcasters. Our guest today, you cracked the code, is a podcaster. Go figure. All right, guys, way to go. I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank all you folks for everything you've done to help our podcast grow, sharing, subscribing, the whole bit, all the DMs. It's been absolutely fantastic. We've had so many really awesome podcasters on the show. Today is no exception. Cannot wait to introduce this guy. Remember, folks, this is the place where we all come together to support each other. This is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. And to that end, let me introduce to you. Let's see. The is founder, I think, is a way to say, right, of Poduty Live LLC. And we're going to talk about what that is. This guy is definitely into podcasting live. We're going to talk about the benefits of that today. And he's the host of the trivia podcast, Stuff I Never Knew. Roughly 170 episodes because he's been here for a minute doing what he's doing. Please welcome to the podcast, Jeff Revilla. Jeff, how you doing, brother?
Great, great. Thank you so much for having me here. I think we're going to have based on the pre-interview, we're going to have a pretty good half hour coming up. So stay tuned.
I think we're in good shape.
Yeah.
Jeff, listen, tell everybody who is Jeff Revilla, what are you about, and what brings you here today, brother?
Hey, who's this guy? This guy right here. I fell in love with podcasting 20 years ago, and it took me a while to get into it and figure out what it is and what I want to contribute. And when I did, like, I just went all in. I've gone all in, and I want to get to the point where I am today and how I evolved into really pushing the limits of what podcasting can be. Does it have to be just a recording in your home office or home studio? Can it be something more? Can it be an event? Can it be this public gathering? Can it be this live thing? Can it exist in more than one place? And those are the questions I've been asking and answering over the last 10 years.
Well, it sounds like said about building or preparing or, coming up with that exact place that you were talking about. So tell us about that, man.
Yeah, for those watching on the video, I don't know if you have video for everybody, but behind me is this intimate space that I've been constructing not only in my head, but we actually built it in real life. And about 10 years ago, there was a platform called Blab, and people on the internet were either there for Blab or they weren't. So if you were there, you have this affinity for this first live stream, four in the box setup that was chaos. It was wonderful. You could send props and the screen would shake and rattle, and you could interact with the event or the live stream. And I started doing this trivia show because it had this incredible social element where you could go live, and within 3 minutes, 30 to 40 people would converge on your live stream. It was just built into the platform. It was part of the DNA of Blab. And the people who were there, we grew up together. We grew our shows together. We participate in each other's shows. Somebody would go live, we'd pop into their show, and Blab had this way of notifying you and building this community that really became something more than just a live stream. It became almost like a portal to the world. I could be in my basement, go live with a trivia show, and all of a sudden I'm connected to all of these people. And when Blab got a little bit too big for itself, it didn't have a business model. It had no way to make money. It just collapsed under its own weight. Yeah, it left this hole in our hearts. And if you ever meet somebody who knows about Blab from 2015, 2016, they'll tell you like that was probably the best the internet got. Like it was pretty incredible the way that it built community, the way that we were able to share our stories and just be there for each other. And that obviously left a hole in my heart too. Like after Blab, I wandered the internet like, almost like a lost guy in the desert looking for water. And I tried things like a peer in and Google Hangouts and Skype and all these other places, just never really recreated what Blab had. And I had this idea like, okay, well, maybe I can't go find Blab anymore. That doesn't exist. But maybe I just go into the world and create it. Like I go to a park or a pavilion or down by the river behind a tree and scare people on a walking path and set up equipment and set up my podcast theater and set up, microphone speakers, recording device, and just go out into the world and kind of be like a podcaster on the street and kind of immerse myself in whatever surrounding I was in. And that was kind of the birth of this idea of what is a podcast? What is a theater actually? What is that space that's confining you, and why is it confining you? And that idea grew into this what I call the infinite seat theater, which is what you're looking at behind me. It's 40 chairs in a C shape around a stage, so that what we're trying to do is recreate that intimate feeling you get when you listen to a podcast in your earbuds or your morning commute. You can't help but feel like you're pulled in, or you're sitting in that room with that podcaster, and that's what the stage does. It makes you feel like that feeling you get when you listen to a podcast, but you're actually in the room with the podcaster. And it's now infinite because that whole stage is surrounded by cameras. So now you could be performing your live podcast in front of an audience of 40 while you're broadcasting to thousands of people watching around the world. So now I'm no longer limited by capacity. I'm able to recreate what I had with Blab and what people have been searching for 10 plus years, trying to find that Blab feeling. You got that Blab feel. I think that's a 50 song. You got that Blab feeling again. And you're able to really immerse yourself in a moment, perform something live and capture it and share it with the world all at the same time. And it's just a whole new feeling and a new level of podcasting. We're flowing mine here, but it's not quite the same as performing your show live in front of people and getting that instant feedback and the clapping and the booing and the sometimes your jokes don't always land, but at least you get that feedback and you get that all in real time. And that's a big answer to the opening question. So hopefully we can circle back through some of that.
I love it. I love it because it's one of the things that makes you such a unique guest. Everybody who comes on here has a podcast, and every podcast is unique, and that's great. You just had this additional, live, auditorium theater thing going on, which is just extremely cool. So this, I get kind of, why you built this. How is it used? People rent it out? Do you bring people in? Do you put on shows? Tell me more about that.
All different kinds of business model. I'm very flexible. I grew up in skateboarding and punk rock in the 80s and 90s. So as creative as you can be with an idea, I can find a way to make it work. So the bare bones business model is I don't want content creators to worry about being hidden with an expense or being locked into a contract or having to meet a minimum of ticket sales. So I got rid of all that. If you wanted to come in and do your podcast, there's no contract. There's no rental fee. There's no minimum ticket sales. And I'll even build you a landing page. I'll facilitate all the ticket sales for you. I'll record the event and give you back the recording. We take no ownership over it. It's your content. We don't own any of it. And at the end of the night, what we do is we go through all the receipts together. I have a portal where people buy tickets. We go through each ticket. I show you, what they paid. There's a total, and we split the door 50-50. And that's as bare bones as a business model as you can get. That's the easiest way to do it. No risk to the content creator. I'll take the risk up front. We'll work together to build your show, build your presence. And it may take time. Your first time, you may only sell 5 or 10 tickets, but you might walk out of the door with $50, which I guarantee most podcasters making $50 on one episode is probably more than they've ever made. So if people can get over the hurdle, like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a big draw, that's fine. Let's figure this out together so that next time you sell 15 tickets and then 20 tickets and 30 tickets, and we grow this together. And eventually it's a win-win for both of us. And hopefully you get to the point where you're selling hundreds of tickets and that business model actually slides into the content creator's favor. So at a certain point, the house can only generate so much for the content creator. The talent is going to start selling more tickets than the house can. So if you're selling 400 or 500 tickets, well, that 50-50 split starts to slide into the content creator's favor. It might be 60-40 or 70-30. We want you to get your fair share, but we also want to be fair to the house and make sure that we're getting a portion too.
Hmm.
Now you can rent the place. I'll do that if you want. We have rental rates of just $50 an hour. If you want to come in and do, we usually like to do a 4-hour minimum. That gives you time to load in. If you want to have like a private event with catering, it gives the catering time to come in and set up food. So, 4 hours, kind of a minimum, like $200. You got the theater for it. And then we just had we do random shows. Like we had a magician come in from Buffalo and he sold 100 tickets. It was incredible. We had to add shows, and it was a great time. It was another thing, and we did a 50-50 split, and everybody walked away happy after that weekend.
Wow. Okay. So it's multi-use entertainment venue is what you've put together over here.
Yeah, the stage is very multi-purpose. My focus and my priority is podcasting. Like, I want to do live shows. Like the Crips and Corks are coming back on June 21st. That is a show you want to see. I do my trivia shows there. I do Poduty in the News. I record live there. We do Pittsburgh podcast meetups. So that is my priority. There are times I got to pay bills, right? So I will entertain. And during downtime, if we don't have anything booked, I'll bring in a magician. I'll bring in a princess tea party. So everybody can dress up like princesses. I will do other things to offset some of the costs while we're building up this podcast portion.
It's so creative. I love everything you're saying right now. Now, when you're talking about selling tickets, you are talking about actual bodies in the seats, tickets.
And actual not bodies in the seats, virtual tickets too. We can sell
Oh,
physical and
okay.
virtual tickets. So
Excellent.
you can choose. Typically, the virtual ticket is a little bit of a discounted price. It's not the same experience that you get being there in the theater and shaking hands and thanking people. And you get a little bit less. But if you can sell, say, 20 in-person tickets at $10 plus, 50 to 70 virtual tickets, all of a sudden your recording expense for your show has now just become a profit center. And that's a big pivot too. People think about it costs me money to record and produce a show. Well, I actually do that as part of the service and give you money. So I'll take the recording off of your plate and I'll give you some money to do it too.
Nice. No, I love that. I didn't realize that you did the virtual also. So, does somebody have to meet a certain qualification to come on your show? Do they have to have a certain number of followers or subscribers, or how does that work?
No, we're looking for warm bodies. Let's be honest. This is I know that I've entered the market a little bit ahead of people, and you really want to think of this place like a comedy club for podcasters, right? It's almost the same business model as a comedy club. People come in, they sell tickets, they perform something. But then I've also added this recording element, which comedy clubs do not have. They don't ever want to record stuff in a comedy club because you'll burn the comedian's material and they'll be pretty upset with you. So,
Yeah.
it really isn't much different than like SNL Studio. Saturday Night Live has a place for a live audience to come in, watch the skits, and they're broadcasting it to the world, right? So I really built a mini TV studio. And I'm not looking for the greatest talent in the world. I'm looking for the right talent for the stage. And it may be somebody who brings in 5, 10, 15 people. And that's okay. I want to find and develop the right talent for the stage. Because then as we move through, as we get bigger, as we move into bigger venues later on, years down the road, I'll have that talent pool all ready to move with me as this thing grows. So I'm looking for the entry levels. A lot of times I find the people who have never done it before are the best ones for the stage because they have no expectation. They're not putting any extra weight on themselves. They're just in the moment and they're enjoying it for what it is. And they are the best performers of the people who really don't have, haven't been performing or haven't thought about their podcast in a live environment. Those entry level people are really the best performers.
That's again, I just love the idea. I think it's amazing. Okay, so now you mentioned that you want to work with people and you want to say, hey, maybe you only did this time, but next time it'll be bigger. Do you offer a coaching service or are you producing podcasts yourself? Is there an additional income stream and an opportunity for you in this in helping people do that?
Yeah, I mean, I do other things like the show gets produced for television. I get the revenue from that. It's produced by the Poduty Podcast Theater. I do editing services as an add-on. So if you really, don't want, if you want a full white glove service, you could literally pull your car up to the curb, get out, walk straight to the stage, record your show, get out of there. I will send you the audio, the video. I'll edit the audio and the video. You can just publish it, and we deduct off of the split at that point. So we want this to be almost like a turnkey. You should feel like a celebrity, with this level of service, this white glove service, and And you talked about, what are my expectations? If somebody's only selling 5 to 10 tickets, well, they don't go in on a Friday, Saturday, right? Those shows get booked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? We're trying to build and lift and then spin off into the weekend. So we have the days of the week arranged based on talent too. So if you're just testing the waters, like, hey, I have no idea if anybody but my mom is going to show up. Like, hey, why don't you come in on Tuesday? We'll book an hour. Let's run through it. Let's see how it is. Let's see what you come up with. And this may or may not be the event we run with, but let's just hang out. We'll hang out. We'll figure it out and see if there's something here for the stage. And then maybe I'll book a cluster, like 2 or 3 shows together, some sort of like showcase, like, hey, podcast showcase. These 3 podcasters are in the same genre. So we'll group them together for maybe like a Wednesday or a Thursday.
Hmm. Awesome. All right. Now, have you done your podcast then on this stage? Is that how you do it?
I've done it. Yeah. The part of the stuff I never knew that you see in the recorded, those are all recorded for television. So they get a little bit more of the professional, home studio touch. I do other events on the side that aren't part of the podcast that are stuff I never knew. That's the name of the show. I do stuff I never knew events where we hang out, we do live trivia, people play along on their phone. It gets really competitive and it's immersive. It's an immersive experience. A lot of fun. So if you're ever around, I'm going to be doing some with DJ Sky. He's going to do some shows with me June 18th. So that's going to be a fun like night of trivia. We got 2 hours, 4 games planned, and you get kind of that experience of sitting in the hot seat of the podcast, but you're doing it with your neighbor. You're doing it with people from around the world watching, and you're all competing to get on the scoreboard to win prizes.
That's great. I mean, you're just taking this. Yeah, sometimes I ask, well, as many times as possible, I ask people, "Have you had a chance to monetize your podcast, brother? You're monetizing everything. Like if you can reach it and touch it, you're monetizing it somehow."
Well, I want to be from start to finish. Obviously, my goal is to have control that entire process. I don't want anybody dipping into between me and the content creator. So if you want to come in and produce a show, like I said, I'll take the risk up front. And in exchange for that, we're going to work together to produce a show and then we'll split the door 50-50. Now, obviously, there's got to be some math involved there. As that podcaster gets bigger and bigger, my cut it gets a little more lucrative, right? If they go from 500 tickets to 1,000 tickets, that's a big deal. That's why I also have to shift that percentage into the podcast creator's favor, right? I can't just take 50%. I'd be the worst agent in the world, like the most greedy agent in the world. But I am going to take the risk for them for a while. And at a certain point, that 50% is perfectly fine. Everybody agrees that the content creator and the house deserve, each a cut of that show. But those shows do grow and they get more popular. And obviously there's negotiations that happen. And my goal is to find that balance. And I know that that balance will shift into their favor as they bring more and more value to the theater, as they bring in more and more ticket sales. I want to reward them and I want to keep them because I want to keep booking them. So like, I am producing it. I'm getting a cut of what they're doing and they're happy with the cut that they're getting. I also give them, there's an area in the theater in the front of the house where they can bring in their own merchandise and there's no merch commissions to the house. So they get 100% of whatever they bring in and sell, which granted, it's only a 40-seat theater. They're not going to sell, but the house doesn't take any of that. So, I'm working on ways to offset things to keep things fair and to keep things balanced for both, the house and the artist. I guess
Nice.
the artist. Never really call it a podcaster. Well, yeah, I mean, it is an art at some point.
Hey, I'm not going to mince words with you. You're the pro over here.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. So,
Well, no,
too much
I'm doing
pressure.
something. Though I don't
Too
know if I
much.
always know what I'm doing. It's
Too much pressure right there.
yeah.
All right. No, I understand. Okay. So, how do you go about promoting these events? Is that something that the house takes on? Do you do that in partnership also?
Yeah, that's a split, but I do put money into Facebook ads, Google ads. I will help promote, and some of it will be based on ticket sales. I try to keep that around 20% of the total. So my goal was because I'm also building names, I'm getting email lists, I'm getting tickets, I'm getting information when we book shows. So if I know that a show is going to be $1,000 show, I'll probably put about $200 in ads on it that it comes out of my cut because I'm building up the theater at this point. My goal is butts and seats. My goal is turnover. So I tend to allocate about 20% based on ticket sales into ads, whether it's display ads on Google or Facebook ads for events, and just I do some crazy fun ads too as well.
Crazy fun ads besides the online stuff.
Yeah, like some of the retargeting gets kind of lucrative. I'm a marketing director by day, so I'm building lists and groups and targeting in different ways that to me make me smile when I look at the data on the back end, and just some of the retargeting gets kind of fun.
That's awesome. Anybody who spends 2 seconds with you knows you're having a blast doing this.
I do love it. Like, there's no joke. Like I have back in 2007, my wife and it's even engraved from my daughter and my dog.
Oh,
The
wow.
first color iPod when it came out.
iPod.
I had a skate shop at that time, and I did mail order very early into online mail order. And I'm packing orders, and I'm listening to like marketing over coffee and the Beancast, and Joseph Jaffe had a podcast back then, and Six Pixels of Separation, right? I'm listening to all these like classic marketing podcasts while I'm packing orders, and this is when I'm falling in love with I'm like, I'm getting this education. Yeah, yeah, I went to college and I got a bachelor's degree in business, but it does nothing compared to the education I'm getting from these podcasters in like 2006, 2007. I'm like, I felt like I am all in on podcasting and its power and its potential. Like, this is incredible. This is better than my college education. I was, just working 12 hours a day listening to podcasts.
Wow. That's I mean, I know that you've been into this and you talked about, a little bit of how you got into podcasting, but um the I guess the TV aspect is very different for most podcasters. So, I guess what's the story behind that? How does that happen? And how do you mesh those two things when you're bringing in podcasters? They're not part of the TV setup, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, some people said to me, like, when I tell them I built stuff I never knew in 2015 as a podcast with video. So with Blab, you could record the video and extract the audio. So from the start in 2015, I've always thought about podcasting as something bigger than just an MP3 file. And 20, I told them, I was like, yeah, I started as a video podcast in 2015 with stuff I never did. No, episode one is a video podcast. And I've always thought of it that way. And, through connections and through meeting people, and especially COVID, like when I started pitching this idea of this infinite seat theater and taking things out to the community, the local cable company Armstrong Neighborhood Channel would produce this great local programming, tons of local programming. If you're in Western PA and you have Armstrong, it's channel 100. You can pull up your TV guide right now and see stuff I never knew on the TV guide. And this idea of what I was building, which is connecting these experiences, these podcast experience into the real world. Well, this is a cable company that allocates thousands of dollars to building local programming produced by, and featuring local businesses, local politicians, local activists, things happening in the community. So these two worlds kind of collided, and they said, hey, well, what if we take your show, you go perform like in a local restaurant, a local bar, the library, come MC events and stuff like that. We'll build all this around you going into the public like you want to do. We'll record it as television featuring local people. Like, that was the whole idea, kind of like a traveling Jeopardy to different businesses. And it was like this perfect mesh of the two dreams, like what they need to accomplish and what I was trying to build, and we put those together to do this live show. And we do like remote appearances where we'll go to like festivals and just set up on the stage and record those shows. But for the most part, we record them in right what you see now, the home studio. And I changed the background for the game show. And we're the goal is to give a voice to local Western Pennsylvanians. Sometimes we book local people, artists, authors, photographers, other podcasters, and we want to feature them on the show. And then I put them in the hot seat and scare the crap out of them for 30 minutes to put a lot of pressure on them to answer a lot of questions. So thanks
Nice.
for joining us. Now you're going to be under stress for 30 minutes.
And I appreciate you saying that about the local artists because I was curious if it's pretty much exclusively just local folks, or do you have people at this point who are driving in from, out of state because they know about this place and they want to be a part of it?
Well, thanks to COVID, we never even got to that point. We only record the podcast virtually. So we use StreamYard for the podcast, and everybody dials in. The producer is in another city, 45 minutes away, working everything behind the scenes. And that's kind of it. We always have done it as a virtual podcast. Now we do remote appearances and stuff like that, but the vast majority of all these shows, we never even got to record inside of bars or restaurants or libraries. We record them all virtually, and then they edit it for television.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, well, that's the secret sauce. That's the stuff behind the curtain. Then, you're letting the
Yeah,
cat out of the bag here, brother.
yeah, yeah. Well, they never, we never had to. I guess they've been always pretty happy with just the virtual. The quality seems to be better. Like some of the remotes that we've done have been pretty rough. It is hard to do a live show when you don't have as much control of the environment like I do in the theater. If you
Right.
go to a carnival and just try to keep, the audience is shouting, the people on the roller coasters are flying by, and it's chaos, trying to record it at a carnival. And, we've always been able to just do a really good quality show just live streaming.
Nice. Now, I know that the business model, is what it is. You've explained that pretty well. And of course, the goal is to, make money and help people get bigger and bring unknowns, into the show and stuff like that. What's Jeff Revilla's long-term goal with this? Is it, a big build it all up and then and unload it? Is it, build it up and expand it, franchise? When you close your eyes at night, what's sitting there under those eyelids?
Nightmares. Like the goal is I want to put a Poduty in every town. I think that's a possibility. The same way there's an improv in every town, or movie theaters that aren't every town. Every town has a theater, but to have something dedicated just to podcasting. Granted, I know that I'm 2 to 3 years ahead of the curve with what's happening, but the feedback that I've gotten so far is, even if I don't do that, this is going to happen in every town across the country. There will be dedicated podcast theaters. I already have talks with people in Atlanta, over in Columbus and Cleveland. If there's not one by me, what you're seeing built now is going to be more and more common 2 to 3 years from now. 1,000% know that that's happening. I've had people approach me because they know the full business model, about really just building a single point software that would be franchisable. So I could theoretically build software that has landing pages, ticket sales, live streaming, and have all that in one package, and you pay a licensing fee plus maybe a portion of the ticket sale. So, those are things that are in the works. That would be my dream. I would almost roll over. Like, I don't know if I could manage 100 locations of 100 Paduties all across the country, but in the short term, even if it's not me that does it, I would love to see an Erie, a Cleveland, a Baltimore pop up, so that on the weekend I could say, hey, I'm gonna do a 3 city tour. I'm gonna go to Ohio, I'm gonna go to Maryland, I'm gonna come back to Pennsylvania, and like a music act, like a comedian, hit up 3 or 4 cities in a weekend, come home with a pocket full of quarters, a little bit of profit, and just have some fun traveling around doing these events in different cities.
I mean, this is great. This is your full-time job. This is what you do for a living, right?
No, no, I still work a very, very good full-time job. I'm on
Ah,
vacation today because I had a doctor's appointment, so I just happened to book this in. But eventually, down the road, this becomes a full-time. This will be full-time. Jeff will be running Paduty.
well, my goodness. So you're working a full-time job and doing all the stuff you've been talking about for the last, 20 plus minutes in
Yeah,
this setup. I mean, brother, where do you
yeah, I'm
find the
insane.
time?
I don't really have the time, but the days like today, like I had a 7 o'clock interview, a 2:30, a 4. I'm recording at 7. I already been to the theater today to check on it. I had a doctor's appointment. I met with my accountant already. It's only what time? We're only 3 o'clock. So I do a lot of things all the time. Like I stay busy. I like to move around, have fun. I'll ride my e-bike and maybe even cut the grass before I go to bed tonight.
Man, that's a lot. Okay, that's a lot more than I'm planning on doing today. But
Yeah.
you're a lot younger than I am, man. So it's it's all good.
I'm getting my AARP card next year. So
Oh,
turning 50, the big 50.
are you
Yeah.
really? Oh man, you wear it well. I never would have guessed you were that old. But
Yeah, yeah. I'm a bicentennial baby. I'm a 76er.
oh my goodness. All right. Well, good luck with turning 50. Yeah.
I got that baby face.
Definitely have the
Yeah.
baby face. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love this, man. I love your energy. I love everything about you. I can see why this is going. So, how long have you been doing Poduty?
I finally made Poduty official in like 2020, end of
Huh?
2020. It was, like everybody else, I've made an official business during the pandemic, right?
Sure.
I had, previous to this, I called it Mega Cat Media, which I loved. I thought the internet would love cats and bigger cats. So, it turns out that there was already a Mega Cat Media. So I had to change the name to Poduty. I found this domain name on GoDaddy. Like most people find domain names on GoDaddy, you start typing stuff in and see what is available, right? And
Right.
so I knew that all like the 3-letter, the 4-letter, 5-letter domain names were already taken. It's very hard to get it. And when I started mashing words together, pod as in podcasting, and then duty as in mission. I put Paduty together. I was like, oh my God, that's so much fun. It makes me smile. It makes me laugh when I hear duty, like Paduty, dates and deets at Paduty.com. And, it was so much fun to get it. And I was like, I'm going to name the company. My family was really against it. They're like, Dad, you can't name your business Paduty. And I'm like, watch me. And so we called it Poduty.com. I registered in 2020. I was doing virtual events like Indie Pods United. I've done some international podcast days on the September 30th, Women of Indie Pods. I've done some great autism events with Sarah Bradford. So I started for live events, more virtual events. I was using Hopin at the time and really loved Hopin. They got acquired by Ring Central or something and then doubled my rates. That's the StreamYard business model. And just kept pushing it and pushing it. And that idea kept burning in my head. And I presented it at Podfest Origins, I think 2021. I did a presentation about the Infinite Seat Theater, and it got really good feedback. People were like, "What are you talking?" Like some people were like, "I never even thought of that," and you could see like the gears turning in people's heads. And I loved like that was like, okay, there's something here that's bigger than even these things that I'm talking about then. So I kept pushing it, and I started acquiring stuff and putting it in my basement. Like I bought these chairs from a Catholic school for $2 a piece. I got 100 of them. I got stages. I got from a karate school. I've been going to like Amazon auction sites and buying pipe and drape. I got so and at the end of that's funny. There's an Amazon auction site that I bought a lot of this equipment from. And at the end of the year, like Spotify, they do a year in review and they tell you the retail price of everything you auctioned and then what you actually spent. I would have spent about $5,000 at retail for all the things the furnish the theater. I furnished the theater for about $1,000 because I
Oh wow.
bootstrapped it and I waited and I bid on the right things at the right time and I was very patient and I just started filling my basement with all these things, driving my wife crazy. The kids were like, "Dad, you got to get some of the stuff out of the house." And then I looked at maybe 40 buildings and I this last one that I looked at had red ceiling, red carpeting. The landlord said you could paint the walls black. I was like, okay, well that's 100% a theater. I'm in. I signed that night as like after looking at 40 buildings and that's how we got here. That's how we got the Paduti Podcast Theater.
And that's what a story. I love it. I love that you're doing all this. You're doing all this while you're working on the job. It's amazing. The whole thing, man. I always ask a corny question about this, and you've just got a very unique setup. So we'll see how it fits. But with everything you're doing, with the Poduty, with your podcast, with all of it, what is the part about what you're doing here that you love the most? And what is the part about doing all this that you hate the most?
Yeah, I do love pushing the boundaries of what a podcast can be. I even in 2015, that's what I want to do. I want to, what is a podcast, right? Is it just an MP3 file distributed through an RSS feed to an app? I think it can be something more. I think there can be immersive events and really, bringing people into something different and still creating. I'm still adamant that you do need an MP3 at the end of the day. I still want to create a podcast product by doing it live. Because I even as a kid, like when your favorite like heavy metal band came out with a live album from like the LA Coliseum, you still bought it even though you already had all the songs. There's just something about live performances and live events that you don't get on this perfect digitally mastered copy of a song. So, the favorite part I love is creating something new that's never existed before and it will never exist again. It's really just that one time deal. You got to experience it. And things I don't like, the hardest part is really the shocking part to me about all this was I can do a virtual event and call for speakers and call for podcasters, and I will have enough to fill an event within 3 days. 72 hours, my spreadsheet's filled with all the people who want to participate locally, and this is where I grotesquely underestimated the difference between virtual and in person. Locally, it's hard to find local talent who's ready to go up on stage. So, the
Mm.
outreach that I do, trying to all the connections and having these Pittsburgh podcast meetups. Well, I love the meetups, but meeting people and finding the talent for the stage. I thought people were thinking like me for 7 years and oh, that's a lot. That seems like a lot of fun. I want to do that. Turns out nobody was thinking about this for 7 years but me. And trying to like cultivate and find that talent. I love when I find it, but that part of finding it, it's way harder than I thought it would be. That I thought I'd attract more people who would just want to come and do this and hang out with me.
That's one of the things that I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about local folks. Do you do outreach to other states or anything to try and get people into? I mean, you have a very unique setup. I know where I live, there isn't any kind of setup anywhere close to what you're doing.
Yeah, I got Savage Unfiltered from Florida. I'm trying to get people who like also commute to the area. So he comes up, works on films and stuff in the Pittsburgh area. So he's going to be in town. He's putting together like a 2 day showcase of podcasters. The magician came in from Buffalo. So I'm trying to pull in talent that wouldn't necessarily be here just because right now I don't have enough to fill all the time slots. So I'll take anybody from anywhere. Like I said, I'm looking for warm bodies.
Nice, nice. Okay. Yeah, that seems like it's something you can do. I mean, especially with the Podcaster Nation, we talk to people from all over the place. But if you could put together like a group of folks, and do an event or something, and they were coming in from, out of town, but they thought maybe some of their expenses might get picked up, by making a
Yeah.
couple of dollars, then I mean, I guess I could see the trip. So, um,
Yeah.
and you're just outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah. About 20 minutes. There's a Route 28, the highway. It's a straight shot. Like you get off the highway, we're 3 minutes from the exit.
Okay. And what's the
Couldn't
name of
be any
this?
better.
What's the name of the city again? Tarentum?
A Tarentum,
I did it wrong again.
Pennsylvania.
Tarentum? Okay. I was going to say, I said it wrong in the pre-interview, said it wrong again just now. So let that be a
No,
lesson, you folks. Take better notes. But
here's how I tell people. Here's how you can remember it pretty easily. Whenever driving in the city from the top of the mountain down to the city, and every time I take somebody in there for the first time, I say, "Hey, over there they don't build houses anymore. Do you know why they don't build houses over there anymore?" And they say, "No, why?" I say, "Because it's to rent them, to rent them." That's how you remember the. It's cheaper
you're not
to
gonna believe
rent
this,
them.
but you just froze up. And you're telling this awesome story, and you just froze up, brother. Can you hear me? This is what happens, folks, during live broadcasts, right? This type of thing.
you're
Yeah, now I'm freezing up.
you're fro- you're frozen. I'm not frozen. Check this one.
Yep. Hey, are
Check.
we back?
We back?
Are we back? I think we're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're lagging.
Okay. I don't know
Yes.
what just happened, man. We
Am I
just
back?
had a little burst. You look great to me. How am I?
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. You're good. You froze. Yeah. Should I retell the joke? Is that what you want me to?
If you would, please, because honestly, you froze up pretty much right after that.
Uh, one easy way to remember the name of the town is a joke that I tell everybody when I first take them there for the first time. The city's built in a valley, and the bridge goes from the top of the mountain across the valley down to the flat part by the river. And every time we're coming down the mountain on the bridge, I say, "Hey, they don't even build houses over here anymore. You know why they don't build houses over there anymore? Because
Why?
it's cheaper to rent them. Tarentum, that's the name of the town. Tarentum. And that's how you remember how to say it. Tarentum.
Wow. Probably should have just left this frozen.
Yeah. You waited like 5 minutes to hear that punchline.
Oh, I'm telling you. I don't know what happened to our feed, man. I apologize, but it's yeah, we're hitting a little bit of interference. Listen, let me just kind of toss it to you here for as we kind of wrap things up. You've been doing this for a long time. You've got a ton of episodes. What's a piece of advice you can give to a younger podcaster out there, young in the business that is, who's not quite where you are and they're trying to build themselves up?
I got two pieces of advice if you're okay with it. One
100%.
is one I tell everybody, and it's no one cares. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but I mean it in it's exactly what stopped me from getting started. I'm not Brooke Shields. I have that face for radio, but I didn't even think I had a face for radio. I thought I slur my words together. I have a lisp. I don't sound good. And the thing that freed me from all of that was I realized no one cares about me the way I care about me. Nobody's thinking about me the way I think about me. People have bills and they got to get the kids to soccer practice. If they chose to download my podcast and listen to me, my only goal, my only responsibility is to deliver them the best 30 minutes I can. They're not thinking about how I sound or how I look. They don't care. They want to be entertained. So if that's the thing that's holding you up, like I don't want to hear my voice, I don't want to see my face, you are the only one who's thinking about that about you. So nobody cares is a positive thing. It's a very freeing thing when you understand that you're the only one thinking about you in the way that you're thinking about you. So if your thoughts are holding you back because you're like, I can't record anything. I can't get on camera. I promise you, I've talked to hundreds of people. You You're the only one. And the other quote, the Bon Jovi, don't bore us, get to the chorus. A lot of times people want to open up with a podcast. They want to talk about their grocery trip and, whatever. Get to the point of the show. Unless your show is some sort of variety vlog about your life, don't bore us, get to the chorus. Bon Jovi will tell you the best songs he ever had opened with the chorus. He got right to the point and he hooked them in. So make sure your podcast has some sort of purpose to hook and lure people in. Don't bore us, get to the chorus. Thank you, Bon Jovi.
That is great advice, man. Especially the last one. I absolutely love that. That's perfect. So, all right, man. Listen, I appreciate you coming on the show today and telling everybody all about what you got going, brother. The Poduty.com is where they find you. Yes.
Yep, Poduty.com. Dates and deets at Poduty.com. Poduty.com.
All right. That's beautiful. Love it. Absolutely. Podcast host, pioneering podcast theater owner, visionary at this point, man. I mean, you're huge. Absolutely love it. Jeff Revilla, thank you for coming on the show today, brother, and just sharing with everybody. I absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I hope it added some value and some nonsense to your listening base.
I think perfect amount of both, man. It was perfect. Love it. All right, folks, that's been another episode of The Podcaster Nation. This is the podcast that's about podcasters, for podcasters, and done by podcasters. This really is the place, folks, where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing.